Hey, Quinton, thanks for joining us, to Bhairavi podcast. We've been in this Bhairavi podcast for last 1 year. This is to create a good community where the leaders in technology or a particular domain, we are inviting here to talk about their expertise and then to share to the audience the knowledge and wisdom. So thanks for stopping by today.
Yeah, thank you for having me today.
Excellent. So Quinton, I've seen your profile, very impressive, where you have done a lot of good work on AI and then some of the topics related to AI as well. So give us a quick intro, what you've been doing on AI, and then so that'll be really great.
What I've done on AI, a lot of things over the years. Well, my background is very much on symbolic AI. So if you think about it, like the history of AI, it goes back to the 1950s.
Wow.
But ultimately, there were a number of different AI winters. And one of the major AI winters was in the 90s and around then.
Uh-huh.
And what happened at that point was that a lot of the solutions were based on role-based system or expert systems.
Uh-huh.
So that was really a good way of doing things. So that was my background. Over the years, I migrated more into the machine learning and adapted with what was going on. I was working for a publisher, and we released the first AI solution for the company, and that was in 2017. So we've been doing a lot of work on that. And then nowadays, I work still with publishing and news and media. And what we're trying to do is extract information from unstructured text.
Wow.
To make it more discoverable, but also to help with making decision and that type of things.
Great. Kind of extracting from image and then
more text.
More text. Okay.
But just because ultimately text processing was a lot easier to do than image processing or movies or audio.
Yeah.
Also with the LLMs and generative AI, we are now able to do a lot more with these other type of unstructured content like images, movies and audio.
Got it. So in this, extracting images or text especially, is always one of the challenges. Once you extract the text, like you query at a prompt. And it's always an accuracy is always an issue. That's what is some of the LLMs. It's not about a particular LLM. It's always if you have tons of information. If you're asking same question in different types of frame and then different types of way of asking questions, so it'll have a not accurate information. So do you know what's going on in this field?
Yeah. So. The foundation of all of the generative AI is neural networks. And the way a neural network works is that it kind of tries to mimic the brain. So if you think about the brain, we have cells and nodes, and within the nodes, we have synapses, and the synapses send information to other neurons. And the idea with neural network is that as you are passing information, it will go and process through one neuron, then it's going to connect through the synapse to another one, and so forth.
Right.
We saw this already with neural network, is that when you were trying to train a model, let's say you use the same data and you use the same parameters, you do it one day and you do it the next day, your model is going to be slightly different. And the main reason is that unlike the human brain, where as you are repeating tasks, the synapses and the pathway are pre-generating.
Right.
In the neural network, they are always kind of trying to find which one is going to best. So it's always randomized, essentially at every step of the neural network. So that's the first part where you don't have replicability across the processing.
Got it.
Now, you go to an LLM, and the LLM are just statistical model at the end of the day.
Right.
They are trying to predict what is the most likely next token that is going to be present given what you have before. Let's imagine you're going to ask a question like, what is the capital of France?
Right.
Why are you going to get Paris? that's, because in the text you probably have Paris, capital of France, and that type of thing. Well, now, if you ask the other question, where is Paris? As you may know, like Paris is like a very, you have Paris in France.
Exactly.
But you also have Paris, Texas, and you have a lot Paris Hilton. And if you are asking about location, it's very likely that you're going like to get Paris in France as opposed to Texas.
Got it.
Now, if the way that you are processing like the data or your prompt, and your prompt is more about people, then it's more likely that it's going like to return Paris Hilton.
Got it.
And it's very much a pleasing algorithm. So they don't have a reasoning to say, oh, I don't know what you are asking, and therefore I'm not going like to give you the answer. It's always trying like to give you an answer. To think about like, if you take a survey, I don't know if you do surveys.
Yeah, we do surveys. All the time.
With surveys, if you lean the question, if you say, "Do you like this?" and you have a yes or no, well, depending on how you phrase the question, you're going like to have a likely answer.
Got it.
Well, it's the same with the LLMs. Like, so if you are asking like, "Should I marry that person?" Well, it's probably going like to say yes because you kind of like lead it.
Leading to that. Depends on that.
Or in the corpus, when someone asks like for someone to marry them, generally the answer is yes. Therefore, it's going like to be for a yes. So that's the reason why you always get things. Now, you mentioned like the problem of hallucination.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
And hallucination, a lot of people, because of the term that is being used, have a connotation that it's a bad thing. While in practice, like hallucination in the context of the LLMs, it's a feature, not a bug. If we translate it to software engineering. It's what enables the LLMs to be able to generate new information. If it was like more of a static situation, then yes, you would always have the same response. But it would also not be able to identify new things in the way that LLMs are good at.
But I think there is a what I heard is there are settings where there is a way to make LLM to be very practical. Hey, don't impress me. The way we put a prompt saying, hey, I need a practical approach for this. Not to have a sugar-coated way. I think maybe the LLMs will give a practical approach, or like the way we prompt, or is always in a kind of a pleasing mode.
Well, it's always in a pleasing mode in its nature. Now, you have like the notion of guardrailing. So OpenAI, like more recently, have put a lot of these guardrails that if you ask a question about politics, religion, it will say, oh, sorry, this subject is a bit too much for me to answer. And it will not respond because it doesn't want to go to that hallucination step. But from an architectural perspective, what you tend to go is for a solution that is based on retrieval augmented generation or RAG. Where you're putting like the information and you're saying, well, this is my truth. And out of this, you should only use my truth. Now, what that is going to lead to is going to minimize hallucination. It's not going like to remove hallucination.
It's a fact, like because the data is there, like so.
But the problem is that it's not because all of the information is factual. That when the LLM processes the information, that it's not going to invent new facts. Or leveraging like the information that you provided, messages in a way that it's still going to hallucinate because it's going like to provide information. I like to use this example. Like, let's imagine you have financial reports in your RAG about a lot of different companies, and it spans the whole of the US. Let's say that you have two different companies that have the same name. Let's say Acme, a bakery in Illinois, and Acme, a construction company in Maryland. Well, the information that you have is financial reports. So you will know about their revenue. You will know about their spend, like about maybe like some information about their employee. But you are unlikely to know anything about that the bakery is buying grain and that the construction company is buying concrete. So now you do the question like to your RAG system and you say, please provide me information about Acme. Because you are putting this information in your RAG system, which ultimately means that you are creating vector embeddings, which is a representation.
Vector database. Yeah, right.
Like it's a mathematical representation to try to get similarities. You have financial information. Essentially, Acme, the bakery, and Acme, the construction, are going to be considered as being very similar to one another.
Yeah.
So what is going to happen is that even though you have factual information about both companies,
right,
when you ask, like, provide me information about the financial report for Acme, it's likely that it's going to bring together both set of information and create something that is erroneous.
Right.
Because its interpretation of Acme is incorrect.
Right.
Now, there are other ways that you can, a newer approach that has been spoken about, at least in the context of LLM, is GraphRag. And GraphRag is leveraging a graphical representation of the information.
Okay.
So let's imagine that now in your database, you not only have the financial report, but you also have that Acme was a bakery, that the bakery was located in Illinois, and that the financial report was in Illinois. And now on the other hand, you have Acme still, but the construction company in Maryland, and the financial report is in Maryland. So now when you are asking about Acme and you say Acme in Illinois, now you have all of the information and you can disambiguate what is the information about the bakery as opposed to the construction company.
That's pretty interesting. So in order to have, switching gears a little bit, suppose any organization, it could be startup or a mid-sized company, they're not yet exposed to AI, or they want to start AI. So what is your best advice where they can start with AI, and then how they can, it could be, reskill employees, or it could be starting something, particular tool or product, and how they can start AI?
So I think there are different ways to think about it. There is one aspect which is upskilling.
Right.
I think when it comes to upskilling, the most important is to enable access to the capability. If you are in the enterprise, everyone or most people either have Google as an operating system or as a way to store their data, and Word and that type of thing, or they have Microsoft. In both cases, more and more you have, for Microsoft, you have Copilot. For Google, you have Gemini, and it's integrated in that kind of suite. So the first thing that I would say is, enable people to use that on their day-to-day
basis,
and trying to get efficiencies in the way that they are doing. So I take a practical example. I do a lot of presentation.
Great.
And my company, we are with Copilot and Microsoft. So what I do when I finish my presentation is I open Copilot. What is my presentation about? What are the key takeaways of my presentation and all of that? What audience do you think that this is tailored for? And now I get feedback on where the technology or what I'm presenting and all of that type of thing. So that's a very practical way of getting and getting used to it and upskilling at an enterprise level.
Absolutely.
Now, when you're speaking about adoption and integration in your product, I think there you have to be a lot more careful. And what I mean by that is, we have seen this in the 2010s and early 2020s, where people were looking at technology first and not at the problem. So I remember a lot of companies that I spoke to over the years, they looked at generative AI and they were like, wow, we need generative AI. Our competitors have generative AI. How can we leverage it? So what do they start doing? They start looking at the technology and then they go and they try to find a fit or a problem that could leverage the technology. 90% of these projects fail because they look at the technology and they try to bring the technology to a problem. And they don't look at the problem from, what am I trying to solve?
Got it.
Now, if you go the other way around and you say, what's my problem? Well, my problem is a narrow AI problem. I have to solve this. I have some regulation that I need to abide by, or I have all of these things that are coming through, and I have an understanding of what my goal is. Now, I know the problem that I tried to solve, and I can look at what technology be it AI or not AI, that is going like to be the best suited.
Yeah.
Just to give you some example, like if you think about legal documents,
Right.
And you want to extract a citation from legal
Correct.
documents, you have well-formed citations. So in the US, we have the Codified Federal Register, we
Right.
have the United States Code, which is more like for statute and legislation.
Correct.
And the way these are done is book volume, which relates to a topic. So 26 USC, I think, is tax. And then you have a part of the book, it's a paragraph. So you have volume, U.S.C, and a paragraph.
Yeah.
Why would you use an LLM to do that?
Yeah.
It's just a pattern recognition.
Yeah.
But now, when you have Dodd-Frank Act of 2006 or 8, can't remember what it was, but when you have something that is more natural language like that, that's
Right,
where the
right.
LLMs can help you.
Right. Absolutely.
And then if you have guardrails down the line, you can further restrict that. But I think like my point is really like to look at it from the problem perspective,
Yeah.
and then select the technology that is going like to be the most efficient to solve the
Right.
problem, as opposed to say, yeah, I want AI.
Yeah.
I tell to a lot of people, if you have to put AI as a label to your product to sell it, you're probably not solving a problem that people
Exactly.
would want
No.
to buy and
Yeah.
pay money for in the first place.
People are very smart, Quentin. Like, we are launching the AI product called letquickly.ai. It's an AI property management platform. So, as you exactly mentioned, there are a lot of property management platforms are there which are not AI. They claim AI, but they're not having a real agents, and then where it'll talk to tenants, landlords, and maintenance person, collating the information what is needed, and then creating a tickets, and also calling the plumber or an electrician and whatnot is all doing now for us. Actually, like we are launching next month. So it's all about, it's not just labeling AI. It's about really it's saving the effort and time, and then the tedious tasks of updating systems and whatnot. So you're absolutely right. So we talked about the AI evolution, and also you talked about adoption of AI into the company or organizations. So as you said, it's all about how we can adapt AI into each and every department. It could be HR, it could be finance, it could be development team. How we can adapt. We need to be careful, and then we can adapt. And even our legal person, if he or she is not available, so we just upload some of the Copilot we are using. We ask what are the 3 things I need to really review in this MSA or in the contractual agreement, or it could be the document about particular legal document, right? It'll give pretty good view exactly what my legal person gives that kind of a reason. Hey, are you going to accept this, and then it'll highlight, and then it's pretty good. It's there's no doubt about that. It'll help. AI is helping in day-to-day operations for us. At the same time, and the moving towards on the client side, I was talking to you before podcast, it could be manufacturing, it could be healthcare or insurance. It is helping and reducing the costs, but not at the level of ROI, right? We are hearing one positive thing is it definitely helps day-to-day life, and then it's all good. But really, are we if we are investing 100 million, any organization is investing 100 million, are we getting a return on investment immediately, or it takes 3 years, 5 years? How we can look at the ROI point of view?
I go back to what I said earlier. If you know what the problem that you're solving, you will have the key performance indicator. You are going to have the OKRs that are going to be associated with it.
Right.
And it's going to be easier to measure your return on investment.
Got it.
If you are just trying to look at it from the technology perspective
Point of view,
and then going to a problem,
right.
well, you're not going to be able to show the ROI, because you are just, as you're going along,
right.
you didn't measure what the problem in the first place,
right,
and you didn't measure what is the outcome now that you have implemented the solution.
Right.
So how can you really make the story that you went from an hour doing something to now doing it in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Well, you can't do that because you didn't measure the information.
Right,
you may
right.
have people who say, oh yeah, I have gained some efficiency.
Right.
But is that true for everyone?
Yeah.
Or is it like just the one person that you found that
Yeah.
for them were able like to do that? And especially when you're looking at efficiency, because, I think with AI, and especially like the way that it's been over the past few years, a lot of people are afraid of job displacement.
Right.
So you have people that are afraid of using AI in the first place
Yeah.
because they're afraid that, someone says, well, with AI, they can do everything for you.
For you. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think like the example you gave with the contract was an interesting one for me, because this is very much like still a place where, yes, AI can help identifying some
Right.
of the clauses that may be more challenging.
Right.
But I would say that you still have a need for the expert in the loop to review all of these,
Absolutely.
like to make sure that
Yeah.
the language is correct, because as much as the AI may have been trained on open data set and that include contracts, there is not really a lot of information about the reasoning that a lawyer or someone within your legal department would do when they are reviewing.
Right.
So you don't have, or this clause is challenging. That's
Right,
very rare
right.
that you find that on the open web.
Right.
Whereas like the lawyer would know, well, knowing what is coming up right now in legislation,
Right.
really I should be like looking at this, like GPDR and all
Yeah,
of that type
yeah.
of things come into play.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which, the way that the LLMs are today, like they don't have that reasoning
Right.
kind of capacity to say, yes, this is challenging and this is why it is challenging.
Got it. Yeah, very good. Excellent. Then, so that's one thing. Like we covered adoption of AI into organization, upskilling point of view. Like you touched upon every employee has to upskill into AI. Like because one way, form, and shape. Like there's a definitely AI is going to be there. Like it could be in their respective area. Could be manufacturing, healthcare, any domain we talked about, even tax or accounts. So we are doing even some of the automation on the finance, accounts payable, or HR onboarding, and even the SOC 2 automation we are doing on how we can interview the customers, and then for the SOC 2, and where we used to have manually. We used to interview the customers with a set of questions. They used to answer. We used to capture, and we used to spend a lot of hours. It used to take SOC 2 assessment like 6 to 8 months. We are going to reduce to 2 months because all the things our agents are going to coordinate and then get things done. So pretty good. I think that's good for the students who are getting into jobs. They don't know where to start the AI. And, we used to guide them, hey, why don't you learn the Python, SQL, AI engineering point of view? How do you create a context and do the prompt engineering, everything like where, you would suggest for the younger generation, I can say, not just students, how they can prepare for this AI era. It's going to be, they should not get scared. Oh, wow, am I going to have a job if I'm getting into computer science? In a discipline, right? So
yeah, I think ultimately expertise is still going like to be demanded, at least in the short term.
Yeah.
For training an agent, you need to have the expertise of the work to be done so that you can replicate what it is there. So
right.
I would say like that for the next 3 to 5 years, expertise is still going like to be required.
Right.
Beyond that, I see like more of a generalist. So someone that can understand the flow of things from end to end. So you mentioned software engineering.
Okay,
so if I take software engineering as an example, what do you have today? You have architect, business analyst, you have the developer themselves,
right?
You have the quality assurance, you have the DevOps. All of these are specialists today. They're all experts in their narrow field.
Right.
It was necessary. Like you needed people that could do like AWS deployment, and you knew people who would be able like to use whatever tool they wanted to do regression testing and all of that type of things. What we see was vibe coding and all of these coding agents that are coming is that now some of these specialized action, like how to set up your continuous integration, continuous deployment
CI/CD,
pipeline.
Pipeline.
That is probably going like to be an agent that will be able like to do that.
Absolutely.
But understanding all of the steps, or understanding how to coordinate all of these different agents,
Right.
so that you have a piece of software that works, that is high quality, that is SOC 2 compliant, and all of that type of things. You will have to know the end-to-end flow, or how you are putting all of these agents together. So I think that that's really where I see the difference. Now, in terms of the learning, I think we are at a point where there's so many like source with free content. Like you look from the hyperscalers. So all of the hyperscalers have certifications.
Right.
But beyond the certification, they are also offering free courses, be it AWS, Microsoft, and all of that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Then you have Udacity, you have Coursera, you have all of these platforms that are also providing.
Yes.
And then, what I hear and what people speak about like quite a bit right now is YouTube. YouTube is your biggest source of free like lessons. Now, finding the right one is, a bit more difficult because it's not always done by reputable people or people that really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
The access to knowledge has been definitely democratized compared like to 10, 15 years ago, like to be able like to learn about machine learning or to be able like to learn about AI, you needed not only to have done a bachelor degree to know about mathematics and all of that type of things, but you needed like to do a master or a PhD like to get more in the details. Now you don't need that, and I think that will have also like some impact on education ultimately. But I think like the other part of it is at the lower level. So you're speaking there about early entrance.
Early entrance in the,
But what I'm more worried about is the next generation.
Right.
So I see my kids, they are in District 203, like here in Naperville. And they are getting Chromebooks and iPad. My daughter is in kindergarten and she has an iPad. And my son is going like to 5th grade next year and he has got a Chromebook. They have better understand, or they have access to AI. But the teachers don't necessarily know what is used and all of that type of thing. So I think that's the other part of it is how do you make, or how do you integrate these new technology like AI? New, I don't like to say new because it's been for a long time. But the new version of AI and the new integration of AI in what people have at their access. But it's how do they leverage that, and how do they leverage it in a way that they learn that they can't trust everything that they read. Like we were speaking about hallucination. And you need like to have common sense in some way, but I think like critical thinking is very important. And if you look at our generation, when we were at school, we were very much like in a industrial education. And what I mean by that is that if you were to challenge your teacher, they would generally tell you like, go out of the room because I am right and you are wrong all the time. Well, now what we actually need to teach our kids is the other way around. We need to teach them to be critical about why they are reading, just to make sure that they are actually reading the right thing, or trusting the right thing that they're getting.
You nailed it. You're spot on. So I think basically, like, is there any top products you would say these are the top 3 products, 5 products where they can play with, like, Cursor AI or a Lovable.ai, like that are some of the things where they can get in and then familiarize with what to learn, or
I would say that like the biggest issues that we have, like as I mentioned, like I've been around AI for 25 years now, and I've never seen the speed of AI moving, or the landscape of AI moving as fast as it has in the last 3 years. Every month, every 2 months, you have a new model. So trying like to say what tool is the right one to learn, it has become like just pointless. I think what is more important is just to take one tool, get familiar with it, what I would actually say is that once you're familiar with that tool, go for another one that does something similar, because now you can go from one thing to the other.
Like driving a car, like, once you drive one car, like, you keep driving other cars is easier. Once you know the control and balance,
Exactly.
Pretty good. That's good. And overall, like, you've been into several, neuro symbolic AI, enterprise AI, and I've seen your LinkedIn, very impressive. Like, so responsible AI and the governance. So can you shed a light on responsible AI and a governance point of view?
Yeah. So, in enterprise, so I think like this is one thing like to keep in mind is that when you speak about OpenAI or Anthropic and a lot of these companies that are looking at the frontier models, they are looking at a problem which is like artificial general intelligence, which is a great thing to look at. It's trying like to look at the cognitive thinking and all of that type of things. But if you look at an enterprise is now AI. They've got a very specific problem that they are looking for. So and that means that, like you mentioned, I think insurance as being one of the areas that you are looking at. Or in insurance, you have very clear rules as to whether a claim should be accepted or not. Now you have edge cases,
right.
But 90% of it is pretty straightforward.
Straightforward, yeah.
So in these cases, what you would tend like to do is go for symbolic AI or rule-based AI, so that you get explainability, transparency, reputability.
Right.
You get like the same claim with the same facts. You're going like to get the same argument.
Process, yeah.
Because it's important. You don't want like to have variability in your outcome, so that one day you pay and the other day you don't pay if it's exactly the same thing. It's just, from a business perspective, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. Like, and it goes back to what I was saying about like just look at the problem and then leverage the solution that is right. You go to machine learning. Machine learning is going like to be great because now you can deal with some patterns that you may not have seen before. A rule-based system, once you go outside of the parameters, it's going to break.
Yeah.
It's brittle, it's expensive to implement and all of that.
Yeah.
Machine learning, and I mean traditional machine learning,
right?
Supervised learning and unsupervised learning. They will give you that explainability because you know how they learned the pattern, and it's going to be able like to explain that, and it's going like to be good at adapting to new data when it sees. Now, if you had a system that was looking at medical data and so patterns that were related to COVID,
right?
Unfortunately, it would not have been able like to really predict COVID.
Yeah.
I think that an LLM would have been, because it would have been able like to look at it from more a holistic perspective of, or I see patterns that I've never seen before.
Right.
And maybe that is related to this new thing that I'm aggregating things together. But that means that you have a black box now.
Right.
So how do you make sure that from a governance perspective, your black box is not going like to go against your policies?
Absolutely, yep.
And that's where like you have things like guardrails that you're putting in place, like just to make sure that your model is not going like to go like beyond. And if I have an insurance software and I'm passing information, do I really want it like to answer Paris if I ask what is the capital of France, or do I want it like to say, sorry, this is not what I am designed for, and I would prefer not answer.
Got it.
That's the type of thing. So that's where governance is coming in place.
Right.
And the responsibility AI is coming as part of that as well.
Absolutely,
And depending on who you speak to, there are different principles, but primarily you have fairness.
Yeah.
And not having bias. You have like the transparency and explainability. That's another big one. And then you have data privacy and security. So making sure that the information that is processed is going like to be safe and not being accessed.
Right.
And these are the things that you have to think about.
Yeah.
And I would say you want to think about these things sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
It's not when you have a working software that you're going like to start with thinking about responsible AI principles.
Yeah.
Because by then it's too late.
Absolutely. I got
You
it.
will have to refactor the whole
Yeah.
application, like to make
Right.
sure that everything is put in place.
Got it. So another question is, the last question is, what is the one AI myth you would like to break today?
The what?
What's the one AI myth
The myth. Oof.
would like to break today? Yeah.
There are so many myths that have gone over
Maybe we
the
can
years.
pick top one probably. Yeah.
I don't know because
People say AI will replace entire human, and then all the AI, physical AI, is going to be into picture. That kind of myth, or it could be real.
I think like ultimately AI is going like to be in some form everywhere, and it's going like to be ubiquitous.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that like it's not necessarily you're not going like to realize that you're using AI all the time. Yeah, give you an example. I was calling earlier in the week a billing company for healthcare, and the first time I called, I explained my problem, and I was like, this is a bit weird. That voice doesn't seem natural. But it was responding like in a semi-natural way to my questions, and I was like, okay. And then I hanged up, realized that I didn't have my answer, so I called back, and I said, like, speak to a representative. At that point, and only at that point, did the AI tell me, oh, I'm an AI assistant. And I don't know everything. And if you want to speak to someone, like give me some ID, and then they redirected me to someone.
Yeah.
So I think that's like that physical or ubiquitous AI is on the path.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's not going like to be there. I think like the one myth maybe that people are speaking about is like the Mooreler. That we have reached the end of the Mooreler, and that AI is not going like to go any further. And I think that that's a myth, in as much as what we see in Aurora with Fermilab, and in this area with Argon as well.
Right.
And the Aurora system, just to bring Aurora again, is that really quantum is the next evolution, I believe, in terms of how we're going like to expand Moore's law and having more capable models that are going like to be closer to what we want them to be.
Great. Excellent. Really thank you so much for your wisdom and knowledge sharing with us, with our audience. And I really appreciate it. And thanks for your time. And we'll also have focused a couple of areas where we'll have a second session or third session in the future. Gordon, really good. And you have a excellent insight on a lot of areas in AI. And then that's really good. I really appreciate it.
Well,
thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks.